Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 527. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com. And my guest today is John Holland, a returning guest and the writer behind Diebold Comics. John is one of those indie comic creators who has built a whole shelf of work the hard way, one story at a time, across genres like horror, science fiction, crime, fantasy, superhero stories, comedy, slice of life, and drama. And so today we're talking about the indie comics backlist problem, how a creator helped new readers catch up, how digital comics can lower the barrier, and why sometimes the smartest campaign isn't only about the next new thing. It's about making sure people can find the work you've already made. John, how's it going?
It's going fine, sir. You make me sound so smart doing it when you talk like that about it.
So you've been on the show a few times. For those that might have missed some of our previous conversations, do you just want to explain to folks what Diebold Comics is?
Yeah, Diebold Comics is my comics that I've been writing and creating for the last couple decades. I started writing back in the 80s, getting published by Fantagraphics and Innovation and a bunch of the indie publishers. Back in around the beginning of the 2000s, I started to do more self-publishing, and I took some of that old stuff I had did and actually have reprinted it in addition to creating a lot of new stuff. And I created Diebold Comics as umbrella, as a publishing company to keep everything together. Because when I first started publishing, I was just publishing, just throwing the stuff out there. There was no brand name on it, no publishing name. So I figured, having a brand and trying to get all this stuff in one spot would probably be helpful. Mm. So now I think I just sent Akimi 2 to the print. Was it Akimi 2? Yeah, Akimi 2. No, it was the first issue of Vampires versus Zombies. I printed up a few copies of it so I can show. I'm going to San Diego next month. And it's the 26th comic I've published through Diebold Comics right now.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a little bit of stuff.
Right. So where do you find all of your artists?
In the beginning, I used to find them. There used to be, now this is going to be something that a lot of people won't even know about anymore because I'm old. There used to be a newspaper called Comic Buyer's Guide. It was edited by Don and Maggie Thompson, and it was kind of like a news. It was published weekly, and they published all the news about comics. They also had a classified section in the back of it, just like a regular newspaper. And I would advertise in the classified section looking for artists. And that's how I found the artist Ron Wilbur, who helped me draw, did lizards for me. It's also where I found, I think, Brian Clifton, who also did lizards. So a lot of my older artists I worked with, that's who I found through sites like that. That's how I found Sam Keith. Sam Keith and I hooked up through a magazine. It wasn't through Comics Buyer Guide, it was through Comic Scene, looking for, collaborators. Nowadays, I find almost all my artists on Facebook. I know a lot of people hate Facebook, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of what it does and stands for. But Facebook has a lot of groups, like artists looking for writers, writers looking for artists, all that. And I just go on there and I just put up a post saying I'm looking for an artist, and then I'll get about 1,000 posts. And I just kind of have to work my way through all the posts looking for, artists, that, one, that I think, that I like their art style. Two, that I can afford because, everybody's got different price ranges. Some artists, want to charge a couple $100 a page, which unfortunately I can't afford, and that's fine. I don't ever try to talk an artist out of his, whatever he wants to make. If what he is wanting is more than I can afford, that's fine. I look for artists that are within my pay range, and then we get working.
Right. Now, so talk to us a little bit about the Fund My Comics. What can people expect to get as your digital library?
Well, Fund My Comics, I've got, I think, 15, 16 single issues up there of my comics. They've got, science fiction, fantasy, horror, slice of life, comedy, little of everything. I don't write in one genre. I don't write one character. I'm all over the board. I've got like 16 single issues. For digitally, they're $5 a piece. I thought that was a pretty good price. Even on Kickstarter, I'm noticing a lot of digital comics now are selling for $10, $15. So $5, is about as cheap as a price I think I can get. I've got a couple trades on there. They're going for $10 a piece. So, and then I have a bundle, the everything bundle. So you get all the single issues. You get the trades. If you took the trades out, the single issues out of the trades and added it, I think that'd be 26, 27 comics. I figured it up. It'd come to about $1.80 a piece. So it's $50 for the entire bundle for everything. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty good price. I think, it's a lot of, it's my life's work from the 80s to now. I've got some of the older stuff in there. I've got stuff that I just did in the last couple months. I've got artists, all different artists. I've got some work from Sam Keith in there. Sam and I started working together. We did about 4 or 5 short stories that appeared in Kitchen Sink's Death Rattle and a few other places. I think most of them have been reprinted in his I Before E reprint book. But there's one story in there I think that's never been reprinted, that Dave Garcia from PandaCon penciled and Sam inked. So if you're a Sam Keith fan, there's the anthology title I have that his stories are in. I've got Alma, which is What If Buffy Was a 72-year-old grandmother. I've got all sorts of stuff. I've got Robot Sex, which I know is one of your favorites.
I like that. That's a really good one.
First 2 issues of that's science fiction. So I think there's something on there that almost anybody could find, to enjoy. It's like I said, it's all over the place. It's all sorts of genres. So there's a lot. I think, the prices are right. And you don't have to worry about, me finishing the book. You don't have to worry about it going to the printer. You don't have to worry about me shipping it. It's all digital. So hopefully within a week after it's over, I'll be sending the books out to everybody. So you'll get it as quick as possible.
Okay, perfect. And I know earlier you tried going through Zoop with this, correct?
Yes, I did, and it didn't do very well. So, I'm trying, I did Kickstarter before, but, there's so many crowdfunders out there that I thought, well, let me experiment, see what works. And I tried Zoop, and it didn't do all that well. So I'm trying to fund my comic. Right now, we're not doing all that great, and I don't know, neither of these sites have a lot of, people, just scrolling through them yet. Right. Kickstarter has a built-in audience that people just go to Kickstarter and just look for stuff. So I've been pushing this. I've been doing a lot of posting for it. So we'll see. But I mean, I think it's a good way to just get some books inexpensively that to read.
Yeah, as I said, like $50 for everything. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pages.
Yes, I think it came to over somewhere between 800 and 900 pages, I think.
Wow.
So, we still, like I said, I'm running it for 2 months. It's going through July. My next campaign is going to be on Kickstarter. I'm going to go back there and see how it does. It's going to be for a different book, but this is, I figured this is an easy way to try to get the books up there, make a little bit of money so I can pay some of these artists I'm working with. And get some books in some people's hands.
Right. No, I know you got some really good stuff in here, because I know we talked earlier, when you're on earlier, talking about Alma.
Yes.
Yeah. We talked about Robot Sex too, which is a really, I can't wait. When are you putting out the next one for that?
As soon as I can make some money to pay Roman. Roman's I've noticed has been doing a lot of work with some different publishers and stuff. So, and his prices went up, which is understandable.
Right.
But I have just got to make some money so I can afford to pay him to finish the next couple books.
Right. Well, I mean, he should have grandfathered you into the price and so you kind of helped them out, right?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. um,
Yeah, and so and as you mentioned too, so what's stopping you? I guess my one question for you, John, is that you've done so many series. Um, what is what is your strategy from not like continuing on from like doing one title until it's finished? You work on one, then work on another, then you come back to the other, and you seem to have you're always in the process of working with like three or four titles at once.
yeah, probably stupidity. I get bored easily, so I'll be working on something, and then I'll jump to another book, and I'll be, and my problem is I want to get everything out at one time. So it's like, when I did Alma, then I was doing robot sex around the same time I was doing Alma. Then,
Hmm.
it's like, so it was juggling the paying the artists and just trying to get the work out. Like, I did 2 issues of Akimi, which is the newest thing. Uh, and now after getting the first 2 issues out, we've jumped and we're doing a different series, but we hopefully we're going to jump back to Akimi. But it just, I get bored easy. And it just, maybe if one book really caught on and was selling real well, I might stick with it just because, I could be making some money off of it and continuing to publish it. But
Right.
I've always thought that, maybe I should have just stuck with 1 or 2 series instead of trying to do 26 different books. Like right now, Robot Sex could be at issue 40 or 50, instead of only having 2 issues out. Alma could have been, out for years. So it's probably not the smartest strategy that, that I do, but it's just
Right.
kind of what I have to do.
So, out of your library, which book do you wish more people would discover?
Probably Alma. Alma's,
Yeah.
very, it's personal, just because, it's kind of, I consider Alma a combination of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and my mom.
Hmm.
My mom, there's a lot of my mom in the creation of Alma. So, it's a very personal book. The first issue, I included, recipes for my mom, some writing she did about her, life when she was younger. Uh, and the name of the character is my mom's name. Her name was Alma. So
Hmm.
there's a lot. Personally, I think it just means a lot to me. I think A Girl and Her Dog may be one of the best things I've written. It's I thought that turned out really well. I think that, to me, that seems to have more of a reach beyond just comic books. It's just the story about a girl and her dog, but it just hasn't seemed to take off very well.
Right. And what do you and also too because you work with print and you work with digital and this one here we're talking about on funmycomic.com it's completely the digital library this is not pay this
Yeah,
is not print, correct?
yeah, no print at all.
Right. And so why do you think readers are more willing to take a chance on a creator when their books are digital PDFs as compared to a print one?
I think if anything, it's probably the price. Digital can be a
Okay.
lot cheaper. It's easy. A lot. Well, more people are reading digitally now too. Uh,
Mm,
I'm I won't say I'm completely old school because I love my books. I love my comics, the print versions. But I also have a Kindle, which I probably have like 400 or 500 books on that. Not comic, but
right.
regular books. So, I kind of go back and forth. I love my books. I've got a library of, I don't even want to know how many books and stuff. But, nowadays more people are more into the digital. It's easier to store. You don't have to have a room filled with books. They're usually a lot less expensive or a lot cheaper than a book. So I think that has a lot to do, and that's why I did the digital library. I wanted something that I didn't have to worry about printing up comics or shipping them. Something that people could, if they were interested in it, it was going to be cheap enough that they could say, "Hey, I'll take a chance on this book," and know that they could get it too.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So a lot of creators are always kind of chasing the next launch. But what I love about this is like you're keeping your older work alive. So why is it important to keep older work alive?
Because I put a lot of effort, a lot of thought into my older self.
Right.
I like the older work. I think some of it is really good. So I just wouldn't want just the next new thing. I want to keep all my old stuff together too, and keep it alive and have it open and available for people to read.
Mm.
And because, we were talking about earlier, some of the older work is stuff that I still want to continue too. So some of the older work may end up being newer work also eventually.
Right. And if someone wants the full Diebold experience, what should they pick up?
Ooh, I would say A Girl and Her Dog, Alma, maybe Joe Bushkin or 2 Tons of Fury, because those are more of the absurdist titles, more of the humor. That's kind of a range. Maybe Akimi. That's all kind of a range of the different types of work I do. Life During Wartime, but that's kind of a political comic. It's my most political comic I've written. But then Lizards, it's hard for me to pick. Lizards is like a story about family. I'm up to 6 issues with that, and that's basically just a story about a family and the problems between a father and a son and the daughter and the friends and they just all happen to be talking lizards living in the future.
Yeah. Now, for other indie creators listening, what advice would you give them about building like a backlist campaign?
I think just keep creating. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to decide. To me, I think it's important to branch out and not just have one title. Some creators are good about they may have 30 issues of one character and that works for them. But I think just keep creating, keep finding artists to work with, and keep putting stuff out there, because it's easy to get discouraged and decide not to do it anymore.
And so where should people go right now to support the digital library?
It is on Fund My Comics.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Fund My Comics. Just go there. You can look for Diebold Comics Digital Library, and like I said, everything is, most of the comics are $5 for each single issue.
Okay. And it's a great deal. They get that $50 for everything. That's a great deal. What did you say? It's a little over 800 pages.
Yeah. And, that's the type of deal I couldn't make with printed comics, because, it would cost me a fortune just to, print all those comics up. Digitally, it's easy to make it a lot more affordable for people.
Right. So, like, doing the math on this here, like how much it's like, so looking at the math is, let's see here. So it's, divided by 50, I think. Is that what I'm trying to do? No, it's, 50 divided by 100. It's basically 6 cents a page.
Yeah.
Think about that from a print comic book that you'd buy, like a 32-page comic book, and it's like $7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, I mean, you look at this, it's like, it's an amazing deal. And plus, you're not an up and comer comic book artist. You've been doing this for decades. So, you're able to purchase from a library of a very well-known comic book writer.
Yeah, it's a lot of like I said, it's a lot of different genres, a lot of different styles, a lot of really good artists. I mean, one thing I'll pat myself on the back for is I find a lot of really good artists, to work with. I think all the artists I've worked with have been really good and done some amazing work. The artist on Alma Hernan is working for IDW right now. He just did an issue of Star Trek for him.
Wow. Okay. Cool. And so we're looking forward to talking to you in a few more weeks about you have a new. Do you want to kind of give a sneak peek of what you're coming up with for your next Kickstarter as well?
Yeah, the next Kickstarter is going to be Vampires versus Zombies: The Journals of Enoch Chase. The artist is going to be Jorge Luis Gabedo, the artist for Makimi. We already have the first issue done. It's written, it's drawn. All we're waiting for is do the Kickstarter, find out how many copies we need, and we'll print it and get it out to people. But it's 100% done, and I think it's turned out pretty well. It's two subjects that are really popular in comics: zombies and vampires. So I figured this is actually something that I've been thinking of for a long time. Hernan and I actually made an attempt at it years ago. We just kind of never got any further. We got a few pages done, and then it just didn't get any further. So it's between the vampires and the zombies and the main character have all been in my mind for probably the last decade in one way or the other.
Huh, that's pretty cool. All right. Well, listen, this was a great conversation, and thank you so much, John, for coming back on. And also want to point out too is that you're also one of the Storycomic patrons too. So I appreciate all of your hard work.
Well, thank you for having me. I always enjoy these talks.